let me read to you in a minute, but I was just talking to my dad. My dad's 92, wonderful, dry wit. And my dad reminded me of two stories that I would just like to tell for sheer fun, just to relax. If we all laugh together, that would be a good thing, right? It brings your heat shields down, and you can step out of your dignity for a half an hour, you know. So let me tell you two stories from my family, a very odd family. I was at this high school the other day, and this kid interviewed me, said, why did you become a writer? I said, I think because I had such a large, weird family. Because you had to have stories in my house, or else my mother wouldn't know your name. You know what I mean? We're not convinced she knows my brother Tommy's name. She calls him 8 every once in a while, just to annoy him. You know, he said to me the other day, 49 freaking years old, she don't know my name. And we're like, yeah, what is your name? Screw you guys. So anyway, my father reminded me of these two stories. So I'll tell you these just to get everybody to laugh, and then we'll do a regular reading stuff. So my father says, I know what the 7th circle of hell is. It's the elementary school Christmas pageant. I can hear him on the phone. I can hear him on the phone smoking. He's still smoking a cigar, right? And he takes a long drag. I said, Pop, what are you on about? He goes, I think they should issue you a large double whiskey as you walk into the auditorium. I was like, Pop, what is your problem? And he goes, yeah, you don't remember that story about Tommy. And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, so he reminded me of this story. Tommy, he's in kindergarten, my youngest brother, Tommy. He's 6, I think, right? He's in kindergarten. The night before the Christmas pageant, he comes to my mother after dinner and says, oh, I'm in a pageant tomorrow, I need a costume. So my mother, also a smoker, puffs on her Benson and Hedges 100, and says to my sister, take care of that. More wine. And so my sister says, well, what's your part in the play? And Tommy says, I'm supposed to be a potato. We're all Catholic. You're all Catholic, right? Everybody's Catholic. If you're not Catholic, you'll be back. So it's the 3rd grade. So the pageant was done by this nun, and for some reason the nun wanted to have like local flora and fauna. Where is there a potato in the Christmas story? You know, but she wanted to have local flora and fauna. But I'm thinking, you know, so there's like ducks and potatoes and stuff, and I'm thinking, this is freaking New York City. It should be like switchblades and beer cans. Anyway, so he's supposed to be a potato, and so my sister says, okay, fine. So she goes to the pantry and gets this little soiled brown raincoat, little tiny old brown raincoat, and drapes it over my brother Tommy and says, you're a freaking potato. And if you complain to Mom, I'll snap your fingers like Twinkies. So the next day, in the pageant, we all go to the pageant, and all the Doyles are sitting together under the statue of the Madonna, thank God, for safety reasons, you know. And so my brother Tommy, so the shtick is the little kids in their flora and fauna suits. This kid's dressed as striped bass. Okay, that's disturbing. The hemlock tree peed on himself, by the way. See, I just remembered that. So the local flora and fauna, they're in the front, and meanwhile in the background, like Jesus is being born, you know, and so nice Jewish boy, my mother says, such a lovely boy, such a nice mother. So the shtick of the play is, as the spotlight hits each small child, the kindergarten children, each one steps into the light and says, Hosanna in the highest, I think was the line, right? Yeah, see, you're all Catholic. Hosanna in the highest. And so that each child does it properly, except when we get to the Doyle child. The Doyle child. So Tommy steps out into the light in his little soiled brown raincoat. He opens his raincoat. So all the brothers are like, yes, he's going to flash. But he's a self-possessed boy, but he doesn't say anything. We realize, oh my God, he forgot his line. How hard is Hosanna in the highest? I mean, but he forgot. But he's a very self-possessed young man, so he steps out with his raincoat open, and he goes, when you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer. And there's this gasp of horror in the auditorium, right? And then, except for the Doyles, we're weeping with laughter. As my father said later, memorably, A, I laughed so hard I thought I was going to urinate in my underwear. And B, thank God we were sitting under the statue of the Madonna. So I'm laughing at this and talking to my dad. And my dad says, you don't remember the story about your brother Peter? Well, my brother Peter's in the same, he's in 3rd grade the next year. And he's got the same nun doing the theater pageant. This time it's the Easter pageant, okay? Slightly different story. Exact same structure. This time each small child, the third graders, are all inside cardboard Easter eggs painted in. And they're supposed to, as the light hits your egg, you pop out of the egg and say, "He is risen." Right? You're all Catholic, you know this stuff. And so we're like, please don't screw up like Tom. So all the other kids do it properly. And the Doyle child, the light hits Peter's egg, and he pops up and he goes, "Jesus Christ, it's hot in there!" So that pretty much explains my childhood. Let's see. Well, let's stay in the same vein for a minute. All right, two funny things happened to me recently. See, did everybody read Mink River? Did everybody actually read it? Yeah. And nobody cheated ahead and read the good parts. I wrote a book called The Wet Engine about hearts and how they work and don't work. And the star of the book is one of my sons who was born missing a piece of his heart, bit of a problem. And so the book came out when he was 9 or 10, and when he was 15, I caught him reading the book in his room. I said, "You read my book? Awesome. What do you think?" And he goes, "Dad, no offense." Do you ever notice when people say no offense means I'm about to offend you? "Dad, no offense, but I'm just reading the good parts," which are the parts about him, right? But in Mink River, as you know now, there's a lot of Gaelic. There's a whole bunch of Gaelic, and book clubs always ask me, "Do you speak Gaelic?" I said, "Yes, I do speak Gaelic. We grew up with Gaelic in the house." Does anybody speak Irish? One? A little bit? Poquito? You want to learn some rude Gaelic? Okay. Oh, we'll have a Gaelic lesson. All right, this will be the weirdest moment in the history of the Senior Center. Let's see. Okay, repeat after me. Ready? This is the first Gaelic I ever learned, and it was in the kitchen for my grandma. My grandma didn't speak English for a long time. She grew up in Ireland and didn't speak English or American until she got here. And then she didn't want to speak Irish because to her it was an bil bocht, the poor tongue. It reminded her of her unhappy childhood, right? Except when she lost her temper, then she would curse like a sailor in Gaelic. So we all learned to curse like sailors in Gaelic. So now I'll teach you. Ready? Okay, ready? Pogue. Mahone. Okay, put it together. Pogue Mahone. That means kiss my butt. My grandma taught us to say, "Pogue Mahone, Gemini Diatu," which means kiss my butt, God bless you. Which is very Irish. He was a son of a bitch, God rest his soul. Anyway, so when I wrote the passages in Gaelic in Mink River, I tried to write them myself. But I have kind of a rough grasp of the language, so I would write it and then turn to a friend of mine who teaches Gaelic to have him kind of clean it up for me, right, and edit it, as it were, and which he did a wonderful job. He was a wonderful man, Jur Colleen. He was a great poet. And so Jur recently sent me the highlights. There was a whole bunch of things that I had written that were unbelievably stupid and vulgar, and I didn't know that, and Jur fixed it for me, but unknown to me, he kept track of the artist, and he just sent me the list. It's really funny. The only one I remember offhand is, "I would like to buy your sister. How much is she per pound?" Anyway, and then recently, as I was pouring through my papers and discovered this list, so I'll read you some of these. Things my kids have said that they don't know I know they said. "Pretend you've been sleeping for 2 days and you tied me with a rope and I woke up and shot the rope with a gun in my toes and the rope turned out to be an elephant and then the elephant got married to an eagle and then we went upstairs for soup." "I told Dad I did my homework but the teacher didn't give us any homework today so the joke is on Dad." "If you really like Jell-O and you really like mayonnaise, then you should be able to have a Jell-O and mayonnaise sandwich, and Dad is wrong." "Grandmother decided to be dead recently, and now she's in Daisy World." "Dad is not the boss of the family. Mom is the boss. Dad is the second boss. Dad is the boss only of the mail. And Mom is the boss of everything else. Mom says Dad is the boss, but she knows and Dad knows that he's the boss only of the mail. He's not even the boss of the grass. I'm the boss of the grass." That was said, by the way, by my son Liam, who recently said to me, my kids are now snotty teenagers, and he recently said to me, The only reason you wanted to be a dad is so you could be mean to me. And so usually you let that kind of stuff go and assume that he's, that he's lost his mind. But this time I called him on it, stupid me. I called him on it and said, I'm sorry. Let me get this one straight. There's 3.5 billion women on Earth, and your mother sought me out miraculously, and more miraculously married me, and miraculously you and your siblings came down from the sea of the stars so that I could enjoy myself being mean to you. That's what you just said to me. Is that right? And there's another one of those long pregnant pauses, and he goes, yeah! It's like, son, you are so going to a Jesuit university. Here's my daughter. Here's my teenage daughter. I know I said I'd be home at midnight, but I'm the one who said that. So when I decided not to be home at midnight, I was not actually late, because I can change my mind. Number 9. Why do we have to wear socks that match? Dad doesn't wear socks that match. He says that they match, but they don't match. He's a sock liar. My son Joey, before he left, he said, Pop, match your socks. Don't offend people. Number 10, if Dad dies, Mom has to marry his next younger brother. And if he dies, then she has to marry Tommy because he's the last brother in the family. But if Tommy dies, Dad says she's an unrestricted free agent. See, nothing's changed since I was a child. Then number 11, belts are fascist. Dad said so. Fascist means for fat people. Last, when Dad tells a joke, he's the only one who laughs. Ow.